Divorce lawyers of Reddit. What's the most screwed you've seen someone? Now, for the first comment. I used to be a divorce lawyer, but it was not something I was proud of. Plus the partner I worked for was such an asshole. I was the 11th associate that worked for her in 10 years. We used to go through 2 to 3 secretaries a year. Our client and his wife were Mormon. During the divorce, she used to tell him that he had to give her what she wanted in the divorce, because they were sealed in the church and would be spending eternity together. We had to fight him not to give her more than she deserved. Next comment. My mother divorced my dad when I was like 2 years old. They had bought a house together and my dad's family offered her fair value to buy the house from her. She denied the offer and puts it up for sale publicly. My dad's family buys it for 40% less than what they offered my mom in a public bidding auction. Next comment. I've worked as a legal assistant for 2 family law attorneys for the last 8 years. One of the cases that made me the angriest was a man who cheated on his wife when she had cancer. He then leaves his wife and attempts to hide all his assets while she's undergoing chemotherapy. Fortunately, my boss is a badass. She teamed up with a forensic accountant and they took him to the cleaners. He even had to pay the forensic accountant's bill and attorney's fees. Next comment. One of my father's friends tried to salt the earth before getting divorced. A rental house and a cabin were deeded to relatives. The cars they drove every day were sold to other relatives for tiny sums. Stocks handed over to a trust for the children, etc. He even vanished a chunk of cash from the company he co-owned with his wife using phony invoices, and stopped paying himself a salary, electing to burn through their personal savings for over a year instead. He learned that judges really hate when you try to hide or intentionally diminish assets, and they will absolutely refer you to prosecutors for fraud. I don't think he did any jail time in the end, but his ex-wife got everything, plus the satisfaction of firing him from his own company. Next comment. My father-in-law had a stroke at the age of 46. He lost the use of his right arm and the ability to speak. Shortly after his stroke, his wife decided they needed to move into a smaller house and sell their current one, which was under his name and he had paid for. This also meant she was kicking out my brother-in-law and my wife's girlfriend at the time. She also decided to put down my wife's cat and get rid of the family dog since their new house wouldn't have pets according to her. She sold their house at a loss and immediately bought a new car with the money. My wife and her brother found a new place and my father-in-law and his wife moved in with one of her kids. After 6 months she dumped him at my wife's place and said, "I can't take care of him, we're getting a divorce." I don't know how it happened exactly, but she got half his money and a new car. She then went to all his family and lied to them and somehow convinced them that he was being abusive and didn't love her anymore. We tried to convince him to fight it, but he refused to do anything because he was so depressed. The lawyer ruled he was of sound mind so he could make his own decisions. My wife is still upset about it and wishes he had tried to fight it, but he still loved his wife so he didn't want to. He lives with us now and it's doing a lot better emotionally. Next comment. An accountant, not a lawyer. I had a buddy, a good guy, but he thought with the wrong head. Divorce. One woman fell into a relationship with this bimbo blonde who messed around on him this year. They had started a business together, but all the designs were his. She wanted the designs. I went in as his witness and testified about the amount of money they had invested and that yes, the designs had all existed before the marriage as I had helped him set it up. Well, they spent months fighting about it. Her attorney was a crook. $35,000 each in legal bills. Both filed bankruptcy and guess what? He got the designs in business, but had to sell his house and leave town. Of course got married again, got taken again. Then number 4 had 3 kids and she screwed him too. Some people never learn. He is almost 60 with 3 kids under 10. Next comment. Lawyer here. I had a client who was the cleanest cut of the clean. Think of the nicest, most innocent, stable guy you can think of. I only take clients based off their initial few weeks of behavior and background check. He was basically goddamn Mr. Rogers. No criminal record, same company for 20 years, great character references that were proven. Then the client went and got not 1 but 2 DUIs and an assault charge. Then he committed suicide. I know he didn't want me to get stuck with no money and hordes of paperwork. I think I'm a nicer guy. But sometimes I wonder. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and like the video if you enjoyed.